Greetings. Back with another one. Got another article here by Game Rant, and Gears of War E-Day still has not launched a release date, and based on some of the stuff that I've been seeing, they've had a few updates in the showcase and character development and some voice actors who will be coming back. I mean, I haven't dug deep into it, but I came across this article and I just wanted to go over it with y'all. And it says Gears of War E-Day should give Dom the characterization he has long deserved. I don't know what the hell that really means, but that's why we're reading this today. So the summary: Gears of War will focus on Marcus and Dom during the pivotal Emergence Day event, deepening their characters. The game should explore Dom's backstory and family dynamics to enhance emotional connection with kid players. I thought they did that before, but okay. Dom should not play second fiddle to Marcus, allowing players. So that's the summary. Okay. Gears of War E-Day already looks poised to be a reset of sorts for the series for more than one reason. But with Marcus Phoenix and Dominic Santiago at the forefront of his narrative, it's reasonable to expect some extensive characters development between the two of them. E-Day places Marcus and Dom right in the heart of Emergence Day, arguably the most important event of Gears of War history, as they attempt to navigate the sudden Locust Horde invasion and guard the planet Terra from destruction. Given the nature of the event, it's bound to be deep and emotional journey for the franchise's most beloved friendship. While E-Day's story will undoubtedly prioritize the growing bond between Marcus and Dama, however, it shouldn't allow Marcus's character arc to continue overshadowing Dom's as it has done in the past. Well, I mean, Marcus is he's the lead. He's always been the focal point of the story. It's always kind of been the war from his perspective. That's how it always been. But it would be pretty cool if they kind of switched it up. Like you can actually play as Dom and who's ever. Like I said, hopefully this is multiplayer. Hopefully the campaign is multiplayer. And I guess if you control Dom, you can see things from Dom's perspective. But Dom has always been kind of like a family guy anyway, and that's kind of been his drive to continue. Obviously, his friendship with Marcus, but losing his family and stuff like that. I mean, the Cog, doing what they had to do fighting against the Locust Horde. It was a necessity for the entire planet to fight back against the Horde. But continue. Dom has, additionally, Dom has one of the most tragic arcs in the franchise, but he has unfortunately been defined by his tragedy rather than the man that he is, in spite of what has happened to him. Um, I think they kind of really marginalizing Dom's friendship with Marcus. I mean, because here's the thing: the games probably haven't done that too. Based on what the writer is saying. But if you read some of the Gears books and stuff like that, because Dom's Marcus served with Dom's brother, I believe his name was Carlos in Aspo Fields, and it'd be pretty cool if they actually go deep into Dom's relationship with his brother Carlos and stuff like that, and his relationship with Marcus. That'd be pretty cool. But cause like I said, this takes place 14 years before Gears of War 1. So who really knows, you know I mean, is Maria and his children, are they still alive 14 years before Emergence Day? I'm guessing so. So if we get to see that, then that'll probably be a different way for Dom to interact with his family and stuff, if they're still alive, which I'm sure they probably were. So maybe they will go deep into it. But I never saw Dom that way. I never saw Dom playing second fiddle to Marcus. Because by that logic, then you can say that Cole and Bear has as well. I never really saw it that way. And Marcus has lost just as much as Dom. I mean, Marcus lost. I mean, if you tally up to where the Gears of War series now, Marcus lost a lot. He lost, Anya, his wife. He lost his father, and he lost Dom. I mean, he lost Dom and his father probably within the span of 48 hours in Gears of War 3. He lost them both. I mean, so there is, loss to be there's loss to go around, but I can see why they want, because like I said, Dom was such a beloved character. He kind of like centered Marcus. Marcus was like the angry grunt guy who was just always kind of like in a foul mood. It was always like Dom and Anya that could really balance Marcus out. But continue. In light of Gears of War E-Day, it shouldn't neglect to thoroughly flesh out Dom's origin, all while ensuring he doesn't continue playing second fiddle to Marcus as he almost always has throughout the series. Given E-Day's title, the bulk of its story will focus on the chaos and destruction of Emergence Day. However, rather than getting players right into the action of Emergence Day, E-Day could show the days and perhaps weeks leading up to the fatal day. This would allow the story to some time to flesh out Dom's origin and show a side of his character the series hasn't been able to explore due to the focus primarily being on the tragic deaths of both of his children during the locust invasion of his hometown, Euphoria, and then his wife Maria going missing shortly after. Well, I mean, what else could they focus on other than his brother? I mean, I don't know. 'Cause like I said, it's that it really it really primarily focuses on who's Dom as a person. Dom has always been a family man. He's always been about his family, and of course, losing them just like anybody else would be, heartbroken and traumatized by that, losing their family and stuff like that. So, I don't understand. I don't know where they can really go in terms of Dom's relationship outside of his family. Maybe, like I said, like this happens 14 years ago, 14 years before Gears One. So I don't know if his brother Carlos is still. I think that's his name, Carlos. But I don't know if his brother is still alive, or maybe they'll just throw in some other people, because it seems like what this article is saying is that they don't want Dom's focus to primarily be on his family, even though that's who Dom really is. He's all about his family. I don't know, but proceed. While simply knowing Dom's backstory as a husband and father may be effective enough, actually getting to see it and experience Dom's narrative firsthand in Gears E-Day would allow players to connect with the bonds he shared with his wife and children throughout, eventually leading to an emotional payoff once the tragedy strikes. So maybe they can show, maybe they can probably show what happened to his family, because you don't really see what happens, because when Gears of War 1 happens, or because like I said, Dom, spoiler alert for those who have never played the Gears series, but you see Maria in Gears 2, and the Locust pretty much tortured her, and his kids were gone. You never really see the children, and it was a very heartbreaking thing to see. What the decision that Dom had to make after seeing his wife after she was tortured, the decision that he had to make. So maybe they can show what led up to. I mean, obviously they're going to. I mean, this is Emergence Day, for goodness sake. So obviously they're going to, but I guess what the article is saying, they don't want to just see it from Marcus's point of view. They want to see it from Dom's point of view, because I don't know if Marcus and Dom were together when Emergence Day happened, and who knows where Barrett and Cole were. I mean, Cole was probably still a thrashball guy when Emergence Day happened. I don't know, or maybe he did enlist in the call when it happened. So maybe E-Day will, like I said, because the books do talk about this a lot, but the books mostly focus on Marcus' perspective and stuff, just like the games do, really. But they do, show other people who, was an instrumental part in Dom's life, like his brother, like Dom's brother. Marcus knew Dom's brother. I think he knew Dom's brother before he knew Dom. I think, if memory serves me. But continue. Essentially, E-Day shouldn't refrain from showing Dom in his element. A family man who was always there for his wife and children, and who wasn't scarred by the emotional trauma of losing them. If nothing else, Dom simply cannot continue to play second fiddle to Marcus in Gears E-Day, since Marcus was always the playable character in the original trilogy. It naturally put him at the forefront and gave players an opportunity to bond with him in a way that couldn't with Dom. See, I don't see it that way. Just because you're not controlling Dom as the player doesn't mean that you can't relate to what Dom is going through. It doesn't mean that you can't, see things from Dom's perspective. Because in Gears of War 2, Dom was very linear, wanting to find Maria, and he and Marcus, they kind of had like a tiff there, kind of had a spat there. Marcus was telling Dom to focus on the mission and stuff like that, and Dom pretty much said, well, you did the same thing for your dad. You abandoned your post to go help your dad, which Marcus did do, which is why he was imprisoned. And Marcus kind of understood why Dom was, said that, so he followed Dom. So I mean, I like that kind of dynamic. It puts you in Dom's perspective. It gives you that empathy to step out of that solipsism and put yourself in Dom's position. Gears of War 2 did a phenomenal job in doing that. So I don't know. So I'm trying to understand what the article is saying. I guess they just want you to be able to control Dom, whatever, and maybe because for example, in Gear 6, when you're was it Gears 5, excuse me, yeah, Gears 5, when you're playing as Kate throughout the game is constantly until she gets ridden of it, but she's constantly having these visions because she's connected to the locust, right? So she's constantly having these visions and stuff like that. And who's ever playing? Because it's a three-player. Players can play in what? No, four. Four players can play in Gears of War 5 campaign. Four. You got Kate, Del, JD, and Jack. And who's ever playing as Kate can only see those visions. The other players can't see that. So maybe with E-Day, they probably do that with Dom. You can see things from Dom's perspective. Who's ever controlling Dom and stuff like that. So maybe that's something they can do. I don't know. Continue. E-Day could alleviate that by allowing players plenty of personal time with Dom in a way of letting them control him. It may even be best for E-Day to follow Assassin's Creed Shadows footsteps by allowing players to freely swap between the two characters. Well, again, in Gears of War 1 and 2, the second player plays with Dom, so you could just easily like all right, you could play locally with a friend, two of you, and one of it like, all right, who you want to control? You want to control Marcus or Dom? I mean, that was pretty much what we did. If you wanted to play with Dom, you just play it on player 2. But maybe going beyond just player 2, maybe they'll show things from Dom's perspective, like how they did with Kate in Gears 5, like how she had those visions and stuff like that. Because when I was playing as Kate, because I played Gears 5 with a buddy and stuff, and I controlled Kate most of the times, and my buddy played with either JD or Del. And I would always ask him, I was like, are you seeing this? Like, he was like, what is going on? Like, because she kept seeing all these visions and stuff. Like, it was in her brain. And then my buddy was like, what are you talking about? I don't see anything, stuff like that. So maybe they can do something like that. Maybe. Continue. Well, finally, if Gears E-Day really is a reset, then Dom's role needs to reflect that. He can't just be the character with emotional baggage behind him. Gears E-Day series has spent years showing who Dom became after everything has taken from him, but now it has the chance to show who I can't read it. Now it has the chance to show who he was before his world fell apart. If nothing else, E-Day shouldn't keep making Dom play backup in a story that affects him just as much as his best friend Marcus Phoenix. Well, they said, see, emotional baggage. Well, on planet Terra, the entire planet is under attack by the Locust Horde. I mean, the entire war after Emergence Day, the entire war between the Locust Horde and between the COG started over emotion, which is of course the fictional fuel that the COG and the Locust used to create weaponry and stuff like that, and fuel engines and stuff like that. And then of course in Gears of War 3 they discovered that the emotion was like I said, spoiler alert for who haven't played it, but of course in Gears of War 3 they discovered that the emotion was a parasitic organism that was killing the planet. So I mean, like I said, I'm trying to understand what this article is coming from, but I don't. But for me, Dom wasn't. I mean, who doesn't have an emotional baggage on this planet? I mean, everybody's lost everything now. Like I said, when you see Gears Judgment, you get to see Cole and Baird and what they went through when they were younger. But when it comes to Marcus and Dom, their emotional baggage is just as much. If you really think about it, the only difference is that the way they handle it is different. Like I said, Marcus is more of a grumpy grunt type of guy who gets easily annoyed and stuff like that, a bit of an asshole at times. It's just that they handle it very differently. Dom is a more sensitive guy. He's a little bit more calm than Marcus, and he's much more sensitive than Marcus is. But it doesn't mean that Marcus doesn't have any emotional baggage, given what we know now. So I mean, like I said, I'm trying to understand. So like I said, maybe if who's ever controlling Dom, there are certain things that you can do There's certain features in the game throughout the campaign that will be available to you. Who's ever controlling Dom? Maybe they can do something like that. But like I said, I'm a diehard Gears fan. And I never saw Dom, Cole, and Bear taking second fiddle to Marcus. I mean, they're a team. They're Delta Squad, right? I mean, obviously, Cole and Bear were always in their own squads, and then Calamity, strikes, and then the four, get together, and then they, you know, continue throughout the journey, as a unit. They've always done it as Delta Squad. So, but like I said, Marcus is the leading man. He always has been. So, I mean, just like any other story, you got a leading man, and you got co-star, you got supporting cast and stuff. Like, you always had that. I mean, so it seems like this article really wants them to emphasize, Dom's perspective a little bit more beyond just what he lost, which is fine. I mean, they can do that. They can do that. But I just don't want them to believe that Dom is just emotional baggage and nobody else on the planet is. I mean, everybody's lost everything, and they had to rebuild after the war was over. And then, of course, we discovered that the Locust never died, and the Swarm was always there, and the crystallized and all that stuff. But yeah, man, just it's a loss for everybody. But yeah, man, I just wanted to, I just stumbled upon this article last night, and I just had to see it would have been 12 hours or something like that. Yeah, I just wanted to stumble across this, and I just had to talk about this and stuff like that. Because like I said, I am a diehard Gears of War fan, and I can't wait for E-Day to drop. And do what you will for what this article is saying. Maybe there's some people out there who believe that Dom plays second fiddle. I'm one of those who doesn't believe that. Dom was very. I mean, like I said, Dom was everything to Marcus. I mean, and obviously Marcus always had that kind of like that secret, that underground relationship that he had with Anya throughout the story. But that brotherhood and stuff like that, it was like Dom and Cole, Dom and Bear, Dom and Marcus, they were inseparable. They were brothers, and you see, how hard it hit Marcus when he lost Dom in the third game. But like, yeah, man, I'm just rambling as always, man. But yeah, to all of the Gears of War fans out there, just let me know what you think about this, man. But 31 cents at it. Another one for the archives. It's your brother Bleak signing out. Until next time, you guys. Us.